So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our wega know-how networking breakfast. I think it's already I don't know how many, 10s or even more than 10s breakfast probably that we do. And it's also cool to have people on site again, face to face. So that's always cool. And also welcome everybody who joined online. So we will do a very brief introduction, so to leave us enough space as well for our presentation and the actual topic, and also question and answer, and hopefully some very good interactive discussions. So first of all, I wanted to give a very brief introduction about wega, and I really keep that quite short, because I guess most of you know that wega tries to build the bridge between life science business and informatics, and we do that in a way of employing people and that share basically the same background in terms of being educated in the life science area plus in the informatics area. I think this is really our unique selling proposition, that we combine these two skills and try to serve our customers best in that way, from early research to late development and clinical development. And all these places you do need informatic solutions, you do need tools and things to process your data, to control your instruments, to manage your samples, to stay in a regulated environment in a qualified state. And therefore, we base our business on 4 pillars of excellence. On the top, you see lab research and clinical development. This is basically covering the whole product development life cycle. Mainly, we do this in pharma, but not only pharma. We also have other areas where we have a lot of success also lately, just to name maybe a few: medical devices, software as a medical devices, so emerging areas, digital biomarkers, and all these several topics that we cover with these top 2 pillars. And these pillars are supported by 2 very important things. One is the informatics solution, so the informatics knowledge part. So, and this is, I mean, from market knowledge to knowledge about tools and product and service and informatic details. This is a very important thing. You always have to do interfaces between different systems, etc., etc. So there's a lot of technical know-how required, and very often we are also we have to deal with regulatory requirements. So our CSV and QA pillar is very important for this as well. And as you can imagine, in many projects we have to combine all of these pillars, or many of these pillars, together to actually arrive at a successful project. To sum up, we are mainly a service provider. We have one small product I just wanted to mention very briefly, which is the so-called Argus software platform. And the main product on the Argus software platform is a software for pharmaceutical dissolution testing of solid dosage forms. It's called Argus Dissolution, but this is really just a very small part of our business. The main business is really the service delivery and then the delivery of know-how. To conclude, I just wanted to give a quick heads up on upcoming events. So you see that these events are all happening in the next 2 months. So already next week there will be a GAMP Francophone Agile Roundtable. This will actually again be here in person and online. Then a Chem Academy, clinical, in the clinical area in Bonn. We do have presentations as well, and will be present at the event, at the conference on site. Then one of the important events that has been always one of our most important events, I think, from the LIMS network is the so-called LIMS Forum. Then probably most of the LIMS vendors are exhibiting, and also many service providers and partners will be there in Köln. It will be in November. Then again, ISP conference in the regulated area on data.
Excuse me, Daniel, you are on mute. We can't hear you on the line.
Okay. So Nicola, you did not hear anything. And
It's back now, yeah.
okay. Okay, so what did you hear then? What was the lesson you heard?
When you move to the breakfast.
Okay, so I'm okay.
That's not back in Microsoft's artificial intelligence. That's just
or maybe breakfast. Yeah, exactly. One of the hidden NSA guys tripped on mute by accident. Yeah. So again, so what will we have for breakfast today? I already said that now to the audience here. The focus will be the wega journey from actually a 20 people company to what we are now today, with a growing number of customers, growing number of employees, and challenges that we faced basically on our journey, on our way, when we were growing and when we had to think about, hey, how do we organize ourselves? And I'd like to introduce Evelyn and Matthias as the principal speakers today, who will guide you through the process of our evolution, and also then focus on challenges and successes, and basically set the base for a discussion afterwards that hopefully will be very lively. Thank you very much. And Evelyn, Matthias, stage is all yours.
Cool. So I can switch.
Are you coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm happy to be there and to tell you a bit about our story till today. So a few quick facts about wega for those who don't know us well now already. So wega was founded in 1993. So this year we are celebrating our 30 years birthday. It's privately held. We have the headquarters here in Basel, and we have also a legal entity in Germany, and also employee based in Poland and the Netherlands. So as Nadia just mentioned, the company evolved. I've focused about on the last 10 years, from about 20 employees to today around 100 permanent employees, and with our temporary employees, trainees and freelancers, about 125. Also, the customer base grew significantly over the past 10 years, from about 10 to today 90 active customers. The amount of projects we are dealing with in a year grew also massively. If we think 10 years ago, 10, 20 projects in parallel, now we are managing, as of today, 200 in parallel, and in the year there are about 250 projects. So the consulting business that we are in also changed from more body design, so being one person in one project. Today we are more service oriented, to provide a full team of expertise into projects. And that requires, of course, a lot of flexibility from the consultants, more knowledge and more knowledge sharing. So why changing the organization? So it was a slow evolution of the thoughts, and it was not from one day to the other. That is important. So it's a continuous process. In 2020, around 60 permanent employees. You see the organigram here that we had at that time. And one of the groups started to have 30 members, so it became a bit difficult from the direct line management. And we started to implement an additional hierarchy level with teams under the groups. And we were asking ourselves, how do we continue? Do we continue to add this hierarchy level? How do we deal with the succession planning? So the founders were still very active in the company or in different roles, like in the group head or in the finance area. How to deal with employee development. So is it only the development in the management role possible, or can we offer other opportunities? A very important aspect for us was how to avoid silos. So if we continue to go into hierarchical organization, having teams under the groups, we would have increased the likelihood to have silos. And of course, we wanted to stay innovative and to be able to adapt to changing environment. So the question was, how can we ensure sustainable growth of our organization without losing the flat hierarchy that was already there, and help also to scale and to keep our very unique wega spirit. You probably know this sentence that is really a motivation that drives us to enable as much as possible usage of the collective intelligence. And we have a lot of smart people, so we want to be able to develop the company with the best of the ideas of everyone. So the decision was made really consciously, not to go for continuing to develop the hierarchical structure, but to go for a flat hierarchy and a network organization to enable this use of the collective intelligence. I want to explain a bit about the structure that we put in place. So we started to think about how to design the organization of wega. We've always in the background or in our mind our values, and so it was clear for us we need to go for more self-organization, so enable the self-organization, and we asked ourselves what are the pillars needed or what is needed for that, and we came up with the need of empowerment and also of more transparency so that people can take decisions. One group of people worked intensively on the values, and we came up with this that we were convinced that with trust we can thrive together. So the more we trust each other, we can share ideas, we collaborate, then it will be a positive spiral. Of course, we need to be to think entrepreneurship. It also costs a lot of courage to move out of the comfort zone, not only for each individual, but also for the company as a whole, and also to foster creativity, curiosity, and diversity. So I will try to be not too detailed, but I want to give you a bit of an overview on how we are organized today, so that we can then discuss later on about the success and the challenges. So basically, we created a network organization, and we have defined 4 types of network. One big part of the networks are domain networks. It's where we have our expertise. It's what we sell to customers. We build our offering, we build our knowledge. So that is the heart of the company, let's say, to provide services. To give some example, LIMS, sample logistic, computer system validation, lab digital transformation are domains that we have. We have today 8 different domain networks, and that's the base for all the consultants. With the domain network, we start the projects. Then we have the initiative networks. It's where we develop new services. So lately, we are working a lot on the medical device initiatives that Daniel mentioned. Last year, we had, for example, one initiative that ended up in a startup this year. An initiative might also be included in the domain network later on, or it might die. That's also possible. Then we have the operational service network, which are really important to make wega working. We have our colleagues from the finance, HR, admin side, but also the internal IT services. We have the marketing, so that are operational service networks. And then the last one, the knowledge network, is where we build knowledge for the company to provide our services, like the business analysis, to create a framework, how we want to do business analysis at wega for our customer, how we want to do organizational change management, project management. So technical expertise, it's a knowledge that we need to, that we build and share in the company. More theory. We are not only a network-based organization, we have to define roles for the organization. Maybe looked a bit confusing, but I will try to explain quickly. So each employee is in a home network. So that is one of the key aspects that we have defined. And each employee has a mentor. So there are 2 roles for each employee. The home network for the consultant is always a domain network. And for non-consultant, like for example, HR colleagues or finance, we are in the home network for HR and finance. The mentor, the home network is providing you the structure where you gather knowledge, you share. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where you can share experience with colleagues, learning from each other, and also be embedded into the company. And the mentor is the sparring partner who helps you, guides you in the organization, in the tooling, in the processes, in your needs, but also in your continuous professional development. So the mentor is the one who helps you to define in which area you want to grow, what you want to do next, and supports you in your day-to-day work. All the other network, so as an employee, you can also join other networks, so you don't have only one network. We want to make sure that there is a lot of cross connection. So you can be a consultant in the instrument network, but also acting in an initiative, like for example, medical device or test automation. Each network has a network main contact. The network main contact has the role to enable the network to self-organize himself, and each network has a runbook describing how it operates. That are ground rules that we set and we follow. And then there are a few additional roles that are also very important, like the delivery manager who ensures the project delivery to the customer, time, budget, and quality. The business developer who are more opening new business, going to customer, asking about their needs. And one employee can have several roles. So it can be several networks, can have several roles. If there are questions, we can go back later to this. As mentioned at the beginning, we also worked a lot on the transparency to make sure to go to more and more transparency, to give more and more information to everyone. So this year, thanks to the colleagues from the internal IT services, we worked a lot on the dashboard to provide a lot of information to everyone, so you can see who is in which network, who has which role, who is mentor of whom. You can also get insights about the customer portfolio, about different aspects of the organization. Then we worked a lot on the quality management system to describe the processes and the roles and responsibilities. The knowledge base, which is really important to ensure that we have a huge expertise and we share the expertise, so not starting always from zero, but making the best out of the knowledge of the different colleagues. Then we work open in Jira to manage our tasks or our priorities, so to work on toward the continuous development of the organization. Everyone can look into it. It's not hidden. We also standardize the way we use MS Teams, SharePoint for the collaboration, so that if you are interested in the network, you can have a look, and it's always the same structure. Also the meeting structure, we worked on that to provide some more visibility. And as mentioned before, we have the runbooks implemented this year to give each network also some free room to describe how they operate, and they are very different. So just a quick overview of the past, let's say, since 21. So we implemented the network. We made an important activity last year to deal with the handover for the grouped responsibilities to the other roles. So that we managed last year. We work on the mentoring. This year on the QMS, organization development, dashboard, stabilization of the model, something that we are currently intensively working on getting more employee feedback, developing the big academy for the skills development. We want to work now on the internal communication to improve our communication channels and employee empowerment. Working on staffing optimization, which is an interesting challenge that we have with the service orientation, to always find the suitable consultants for the project, depending on the customer and on the needs. And of course, keeping room for new ideas for next year. And I will hand over to Matthias to give you some more thoughts.
Thanks, Evelyn. Good morning, welcome. Yeah, so that is, as you can see, a lot of things have happened, and now the idea was to give you a short overview of, okay, where are we, what is the current status, and what are challenges. So we decided to give you a list of our biggest successes that we think we have achieved in this complete journey, and also the challenges that we still have. And if I say challenges, it doesn't mean there's nothing done yet and it doesn't work. It means it works well, but it still needs some adaptation. I have to admit, I'm a YouTube junkie, so I thought, well, how can I grab your interest a little bit? And I know for myself that I tend to click on all these top 10 videos, top 10 of whatever. Oh, sorry. So what I'd like to do is to give you my personal top 4 of our successes and challenges. That's my personal. The ranking is irrelevant. That's my personal view, right? And we can discuss about the ranking, but that's my personal. Starting number 4 on the list of our biggest successes. For me, that is the fact that we managed to have this kind of change and transition, which is, for me, a really an intense, a big change in the operating model of an organization. On the one hand, underlying. On the other hand, we managed to ensure the profitability. I mean, we're a service company. We have to be profitable. And we managed to do that, which is, for me, a big success. On the one hand, this is a big success of our leadership and our management, who are kind of steering something that is not predictable. And on the other hand, equally, that's an effort of our employees who are dealing with this change and still are operating and working and collaborating as they in a quite maybe unsecure environment. We have kept this growth and financial stability. At least I know nothing else. We have, to my knowledge, no significant increase in turnover. We have not big numbers of leavers. Instead, we have a constantly growing number of employees, which is a very good sign, especially in the times. And in addition, as Evelyn already mentioned, all these kind of changes are already documented in our QMS. So all these changes are documented to be able to be read, understood, and ensure the ISO certification also, which is really, from my perspective, a big effort. That brings me to number 3 of my personal top 4 list of successes. And for me, that's creating the possibility for an adaptability. One of the biggest goals of this change was we need to adapt to a changing world, right? Our world is changing and we know that. So we need to have an organization that is able to adapt to this change. And I think we managed it quite well. First of all, the network itself, like Evelyn explained, they are creating a highly interconnected organization. So it's a network which is very adaptable. We have created initiative networks. What does it mean? That is each employee, for example, does have the possibility, if he has a good idea, to raise that idea and this idea will go through a well-defined ideation funnel, which might end up in a new offering, in a new service, whatever. And this is a very good example for a kind of controlled experimentation. You need to have this experimentation. You need to try out new things to be able to adapt, because you're never sure if something works in the market or not. There's a certain probability, but you can never be sure. So you have to try. But you also need to have the control. It's not an uncontrolled, we just do anything. And this ideation funnel, for example, is a very good tool, in my opinion, to create a good balance between controlled innovation and experimentation. And of course, we have built up in these networks types of networks like the initiative, the main networks, knowledge networks, and this is as a combination, an interconnected network to share the knowledge. So increasing the complexity, increasing the interconnection is the basis for a company that can grow and adapt to changing market situations. Coming to number 2 of my personal list, and that is really important for me personally. Right from the beginning, I had the impression, and it was always communicated, that we have a strong shareholder, owner, leadership support in this transition. I really can, I feel supported by the executive board, by the board of directors, and I trust them that they keep on going with that support. And I cannot value that enough, because if I would be leadership, for me it would be a risk. I mean, if you do something, if you need to steer a company and you're well aware we are going through a change where we're not exactly sure where we will end up, that's a kind of a risk. For me, it would be a risk. But I think it's a controlled risk, and I really value that that our leadership is going to take that risk and still supporting us. We get frequent information about the decisions, about status. We're well informed. You can always be better informed, of course, but I think we are well informed about strategy meetings. I mean, Daniel did now a series of meetings where we discuss about the strategy. It's really cool thing. All this kind of transparency thing. I really value. Okay, that will bring me to my personal number 1, which is why I put it to the number 1, because from my perspective, it's a very nice example on how important it is to understand what you're doing, to understand why we needed to have this kind of change in the company. And this is understanding the problem and the nature of complexity. So you all know the term wega. So this constantly changing, fast-pacing, changing world, which is not predictable, and so on and so forth. So understanding the world we live in and understanding what is the real nature of complexity, and then also applying, knowing the theory, how to handle it. As an example, Ashby's Law. Who knows Ashby's Law? One. Okay, so let me read through it. Hopefully you get the point. This is, he says, or it's something that can be read out of his theory. And it says the solution of a complex problem must have at least the same level of complexity than the problem itself. Again, the solution of a complex problem must have at least the same level than the problem itself. So if we do have a issue in our worlds through interconnection, through highly dynamic, we need to have an organization that is also quite highly interconnected and has a high dynamic. More or less, very simplified, but so that's a theory. And the implementation, the solution of wega is that we start to create these networks. We have a multidimensional organization. People are part of maybe more than one network. You can be part of a domain network. You can be part of a knowledge network. You can have more than one role. You can work in different projects. So very, very much connections between people. It's not a straight thing. I'm in this silo, in this group, and I do just that and so on. You don't have to, but you can. And transparency, of course, is the is key for it all. But what means transparency? I come to that later. For me, it's the access to necessary information. It's not having access to all kinds of information. That doesn't mean transparency for us. Questions so far?
Yes, I find it very interesting. But in the end, you still are one entity, no? So it's still, there's one account in the end and one. It's a company, a single company, no? So I'm just wondering, practically, do you, like in SAP, reflect all this this complexity? Does every network have its own budgeting and its own, accounts or so? Do you then, do you actually say, today I worked so many minutes for this network, or do you actually keep this separate and basically don't reflect the whole complexity in your administrative system?
Well, I'm not very deeply inside this administrative stuff, but I would say this is surely one of the honorable mentions. This is not in top 4 of the challenges because I know we're working with it, but Christian, do we completely? Can you help?
I think we do it also. We don't try, also we don't dig into the details. I would say we are still one wega. We have different domains. We have, as they mentioned earlier, we have a legal entity in Germany. So we don't measure, for example, the profitability for Germany and for Switzerland and for the different domains, but we measure it for one wega because we try to, interact. And,
but record, for example, no? Because if you're in multiple networks, the question is, are they individually kind of? Yeah.
You can go.
There are no, from a cost perspective, networks are no cost centers. So there's no profit and loss on networks. But of course, there is time-wise, there is budget. So if you are assigned and work on a certain initiative, you also agree on what time do we spend, and then you set the budget, and this budget is transparent, for instance. Yeah. But the size of the budget is not something that you define individually, usually, but in a network or in a collaborative decision.
And maybe just to add one on the cost structure on the measurements, the assignment of the project to the network is not something that we track on this level. So we allow the full flexibility, even in the assignment of the delivery manager might be in another domain for a customer because he knows this customer well and it's the person that fits well for this role. So we don't measure the profit of each network for each network and put the delivery manager only in this network. We don't do that. We do the full.
That is an important point.
Yeah.
Because again, we're measuring the success as a whole, as a company as a whole. In my previous company, where I came from, if I wanted to collaborate with colleagues from another entity, or at least even from another group, I had to do something like an intercompany agreement. I had to hire somehow the people from my own company, which is crazy. And this is what we're trying to avoid, because wega as a company as a whole should be successful. And any kind of, I think, personal incentives, goals, group goals, budgets are counterproductive to that goal.
There's one online question.
Yeah.
Would you like to ask the question, or should I read it for you? Okay, so Mauro said a disadvantage of multidimensional matrix organization is that it can lead to confusion and complexity in decision making and accountability. In such a structure, employees often report to multiple managers or leaders simultaneously, which can create ambiguity about their roles and responsibilities. This can result in power struggles, conflicts, and a lack of clarity about who is ultimately responsible for specific tasks or projects. How do you address that?
Oh, sorry, you're too fast. Can I continue with the challenges? But it's a good point. I will show you why later. So, okay. Coming to the challenges. Top 4. What is my personal number 4 of challenges? Very personally, it's getting a stability in the organization with all kinds of new roles and responsibilities and accountabilities. We have introduced new roles. They have been initially described. They are lived. They work quite well, but still, from time to time, you have to review. Is it still the role description that we have? We have very good role descriptions, but are they still accurate? Do we need to adapt? Is it clear for everyone what is my accountability? That's even the difference between a responsibility and an accountability. So these kind of things, they are there, they're working, but they need to be constantly reviewed and eventually adapted. Is everyone self-emergent structures is something that could happen even especially in a time where roles and structures are new and not quite. There's a little bit uncertainty still there, which is the case. So there could be some self-emergent structures that might be counterproductive. So you have to observe it. Okay? You have to observe it and you have to constantly adapt it and always challenge. Is it that behavior? What emerges? Is that what we really want? Is it beneficial? Is it controversial? Make implicit expectations explicit. That's a kind of a role description. Of course, if a business development role is somehow more or less self-explaining, but still there might be small issues or small details in this kind of roles where people expect certain activities from this role and other people don't see. So really make these small things really explicit. This can be changed. And of course, you need continuous training and development of people in these roles, especially also new people. If I said you have the possibility to take on new roles, of course, you need to be trained. You need to be developed in this role. Not everybody is a very good business developer right from the beginning. Maybe someone has the personality, yes, but you still need some experience and advice and so on. Good. Coming to number 3 of my personal list is the service orientation and efficiency. We have an organization, a network organization, and a strategy is to go from a pure only body leasing one-to-one towards a service orientation. Service orientation means I might have many consultants, many people in the same project, and the project delivers more than just one consultant, but it delivers a service. Right? So you need more people. This means, on the other hand, this has a huge advantage for the customer because we can deliver end-to-end service, for example, or specific parts of it, not only single consultants. For the employee, that might be a challenge because you have to, it might end up that you work in multiple projects parallel. You have to switch context during the day a couple of times. Customer A, then customer B calls, then you have a meeting with customer C and so on. So that's a different thing. It's much more complicated than just working straight on one project. The interdisciplinary skills of the employees are much more higher value. You need more of these interdisciplinary skills. You need to be better self-organized. How do I organize my work, my day? I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I'm maybe one of the most unstructured people in the world, I would call myself. So I'm really struggling with these context pictures. So that's a challenge. But it's not only for me. I know it's a challenge for everyone. Administrative changes, as you mentioned, you need to reflect this new situation also in the tooling, in the processes, in the QMS. It's much easier to say, okay, I have a body leasing, one person working 100% for a customer for a year. That's quite easy to manage. But if you have 20% here plus 40% on this project, then you need to do a bit more complicated forecast and all this kind of thing. From an administrative perspective, it's also more complicated. And of course, last but not least, it can lead to kind of mental stress and well-being. If you constantly have to change this context, it's on the one hand very interesting, could be very interesting, but it needs more energy to work on these things in parallel. Okay, let's come to my personal number 2 of the challenges, and that is communication. I know a lot of people now think, okay, communication should be on number 1, okay, but for me it's number 2. Communication is always a challenge. Wherever you are, communication is always a challenge, especially I think in the situation where we are, when things are changing. Processes are changing, roles are changing, and so on and so forth. Very simple things. What to communicate? How often do we need to communicate? Which channels do we use best for communication? Do we just write mails to all wega employees? Not the best thing, maybe. But how can we solve the problem to get the necessary information to the people that need this information? Is it enough to have it just documented in a QMS and say, hey, the information is there, I'm done? Do we need to go a little bit more and say, okay, we need to make sure that the information is really in the heads of the difficult topic. So you need, and that's something we recognize thanks to Franziska. We really saw there is a need for internal communication strategy. And that's what we're currently working on. And there's good ideas, but this all came out of this evolving journey where we are. And it's really a challenge. I mean, I think we're quite good in communicating. I think people are good informed. My personal perspective, but still there needs to be some improvements there. And that will lead me to my personal number 1, which is decision making. And that is related to, I think, what Mauro mentioned. Yes, this is a challenge. Again, I think and I see that we at wega, in the situation where we are, we're making good decisions and we're making good decisions fast. That is a fact. Still, there are open questions. There are things that not maybe improved in decision making. Decision making is a very, very difficult process, and we're not yet there, in my opinion, and we're working on that. So, but decision making always needs, especially in a company that would like to include these kind of knowledge workers, these people, and get their opinion and get the self-empowerment. You need to think how you can incorporate that. So you need rules for decision making. We are working on that. We are quite far. You need clear boundaries. What can I design? And you need clarity about this thing. And something that is not really explicitly mentioned here, you need people that are mature to know if I can make a decision at a certain point or if I need to delegate that. That is always the basis. And this needs to be trained, and this needs to be just lived in the future. And I think we'll come there. Of course, then, as I said, a good balance between all these kind of rules. You cannot write down anything in a QMS. There is some certain rules, there are constraints, But within these rules, you need the self-empowerment to navigate through things with using your own brain. And you need, and we have the executive board support to foster this kind of self-responsibility. Executive board is constantly keeping to say, look, we need mature people, and please, we have values that will guide us. And if there's a decision to be made and you feel empowered, then do it and learn if it was wrong. So what was the thing that you said? We prefer to apologize for something when it was wrong before.
Rather apologize instead of asking for permission.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. So that's one of these things. Yeah, and of course, experience in making team decisions. Also, that is one thing. If it comes to a decision has to be made by a team or by a group of people, how do you do it? It's always easy if you have group head and he decides at the end, he has the final saying, but it might be that some kind of decisions have to be made within a team. That's sometimes not that easy.